So this is the second day of using underglaze on our slab container. And as you recall, we use the black underglaze to define all of our incised lines. Next, you're going to envision what sorts of colors you want to use on the background and also for your motif objects. I've printed this out, I just found it online, so that I can give you a visual as to what I have going on in my head. Now, I recommend looking up images. You can use your phone to do so that you have something to compare what you have in your head and your color options for underglaze. These are your underglaze choices. There are 27 different colors, so there's quite a variety. Just remember, just take a small amount, and because you can always go back and get more. Now, I recommend starting with the background. And for the background, with the underglaze, it's really smart to use that dabbing motion. And I recommend using more than one color for the background and employing a light value. For me, I'm using white. A medium value, I'm using sour apple, and a darker value. Even though this isn't like a really dark, this is going to be, I believe it is Irish Luck. Okay, so I've got 3 different colors that I'm going to be using on my background. Because looking at my grasshopper, I want to use more of the yellows and the oranges and bring in some of that pink. And the reason that I want to have that white is so that these legs show up. If I started with a really dark value, then those legs might disappear. So here I am. I've got my 3 different colors. I've got my plan, what I have going on in my head, and these are your choices for underglazes. I'm going to put that off to the side. As far as tools, I just have the small palette, a small brush. I do have a bucket of water, but it's not nearly as full as when we did the black underglaze. And I just have that here so that I can rinse my brush out in between colors. And then I've got a paper towel so I can dry my bristles off. So the method in which I'm going to be applying it, I want a white halo around my grasshopper, and then I want it to slowly turn into the lighter green and then the darker green. And then once we hit the darker green, to go in that reverse order, the sour apple and then the white. So, like I said, I'm just loading up my bristles with that white. I think the white is called cottontail, and I'm using that dabbing motion. And by putting white next to my grasshopper, we're going to catch all those details, the details in the legs. Now, you don't have to do the lightest value around your motif. Instead, you could have the dark value start at the bottom and then blend into your medium value, and then maybe your light value goes up towards the top. The reason that I'm recommending more than just one value is because these underglazes, they can look blotchy if you are applying them sparingly, or if you're using more of a brush stroke. Gets to be a little bit blotchy. And so by using this method, it looks like we wanted it to be blotchy. All right, so I've got some white laid down. Now, while it's still a little wet, I'm going to come in with that sour apple. And you can see I'm kind of mixing it in with that white, that cottontail. While it's still wet. I'm just doing a small section so that I can do some blending before the underglaze dries completely. And then here's my darkest of the greens. You can always come in with a little bit more white to make a nice transition. Okay, and then you can start to see how it's starting to blend together. I'll show you a previous project. Here's my one with mittens. And right down here, I started with teal next time, and then I transitioned into a different blue, and then I started to bring in a lighter blue, and then my plan was to end up with white at the top. Now for my handle, I think I'm gonna be a little bit creative, and I'm gonna use some brown to make it look like dirt, and then probably my darkest green. Here, maybe I'll bring in some yellows so that it looks like the real color of grass. That's my plan, okay? So keep in mind what your choice of colors are and how you apply those colors. Also keep in mind that when we glaze these with the clear glaze and fire it again, these colors are going to become more vibrant and they will end up being shiny. So even though this looks muted and matte, it will end up being more bright and obviously more shiny.